Hello, guys. Welcome to Rant and Bollox. We're doing a review of Avengers Endgame today. It's taken, 21, 22 films to get here. And what an epic ending. I know we were super looking forward to seeing it. I knew you were, Paul, because you were tweeting lots, and I think you were on a plane. You were like doing it on a research trip or something.
Yeah.
And you were like, if this plane goes down, like I don't know, what were you tweeting?
I was saying if the plane crashes, don't worry. Al's got a Ouija board and I'll watch it as a ghost.
That's the one.
Hashtag whatever it takes.
Man, I was so excited to see this at the cinema. Like, so excited that I made sure, because I knew it was 3 hours, like, don't go to the toilet like half an hour before or an hour before. And then I was going to get some popcorn, and they were like, do you want a drink with that? I'm like, no, I don't want a drink. It's like,
can't drink.
I don't want to miss anything kind of thing. But, we'll go straight into this and thoughts and good things and bad things. But I'll pass it off to you. You are obviously a huge movie fan, Marvel fan. We both are. What was your reactions, man?
I would say that as a movie, it is terrible. It's awful. It's like the worst movie you could ever see.
Right.
Because it makes no sense.
Sure.
But as the end of a 22 movie masterpiece, or whatever you want to call it, this giant story, it's everything you want as a fan. It's got jokes, it's got callbacks, it's got characters, it's got everything. We have spoilers. It's all spoilers from the start, guys.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? Like, you cannot walk into this movie blind. Like, at the very least, you have to watch Infinity War.
Sure.
Because otherwise you have no idea what Thanos has done or whatever. But like, this, what I mean, in terms of judging this as a movie, it's something that I don't think we've ever seen in our lives. We've never been at the end of a saga, an epic, for 10 years in the making.
I was thinking that while I was driving there, and the one that was coming closest for me, like, I know Star Wars is a thing, but it's ongoing. The only one that I could think of close was Harry Potter, like how big a scale it's on and how it finishes, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And that's 7 movies, am I right?
And that's not...
Or 8 movies.
I think it's 7 or 8, yeah. I 100% agree with you as well. It's like, this film, obviously spoilers and stuff, has like crazy time travel going on in it, and that does kind of annoy me when you put time travel in films, because it just creates so much talk, which will and so many different streams and all that lot. So as a like, they could do whatever they want with time travel, so they can pull off any story. But as like a comic book fan and just a Marvel nerd, it touches every base, gets all the feels, does, you know, all the scenes that you wanted to see. You know, it has the payoffs, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And they do it extremely well. But
that's what I said to you. The feels get you through anything. As bumpy as it might be, and weird and annoying and plot holes and doesn't make sense, if it makes you feel towards the end and it makes you feel throughout, then you're just going to be like, I'm going to let it slide. I'm just, you know what? It feels good.
And I completely agree. I think when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I was almost like ticking off boxes. And I was like, you've ticked this one, you've ticked this one, you ticked this one. And then when it got towards the end, I'm like, there's a big fucking tick there. You know, it's just like, it was just, it was doing it in a nice gradual way as well.
There's definitely a lot of ticks in this. There's a lot of moments where I was just like, oh, that is, and for me, the Captain America fanboy in me, this movie just,
hell yeah,
sweet success.
I was thinking of you.
Best.
Yeah, I was thinking of you.
I couldn't ask for anything else from this movie. And yeah, I have feels. There's 3 moments that I was crying. No shame in saying that, lads. Let's face it. If you're not crying, you shouldn't be watching this movie.
You're dead inside. You're a White Walker.
You're dead inside. Yeah, you're a White Walker.
I do want to.
And it was just that thing of, like I said, it's a bad movie because, you know, there's plot holes and there's time travel, and if you don't know where Ant-Man was or this is, it's, yeah, you're right. But as the end of 22 movies, the end of a back-to-back huge, super crazy adventure Infinity War thing, it's everything you kind of wanted.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think I did really like right from the beginning. I guess I did really like how they kicked it off, and they were ready to go get him. You know, like they obviously Tony Stark came back to Earth, and then they were just like, okay, where is he? Nebula knew where he was, and they just got the team together. And I remember thinking to myself, because like Captain America had that line, "Let's go get that son of a bitch," which was awesome. And then they open up with their titles, and I'm like, this is moving quick, you know. But I'm like, but we've got 3 hours to tell. But how are they going to do it? And then obviously they get through it. They get to him, and he's already destroyed the stones. And I thought,
I blame you, by the way, because you had the basic layout.
I know.
That sounds about right. Yeah, the first hour is going to be misery. The second hour they're going to fight him, and then the third hour they're going to try and fix everything. I'm like, yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the credits, the title come, I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
I know. I was like so thrown off. And then as soon as like he like crumbled the stones down or whatever, used the stones to destroy the stones, I was like, holy shit! 5 years later, and I'm like, this is getting quite depressing, but like in a good way. I hadn't seen Marvel go there before, you know.
Yeah.
And
when he got his arm chopped off, that's when my brain kind of had a little short fuse. Like the spark plugs weren't quite firing. I'm like, what's going on here? Is another illusion? Is he faking this?
Yeah.
Because my head, I'm just thinking, oh, they're gonna go to the planet, and he's just gonna be like, get the hell away from me, and click his fingers again, and they'll be back on Earth, and they'll be like, oh crap, there's nothing we can do, and they have to come up with a different solution.
Right. Yeah.
And then Marvel just took it in a way I just didn't see coming. It was just so smart.
Yeah. They literally killed him. Like, you did kill him, but the stones are gone, you know. And then like how they all reacted to it, you know, like just everyone just going off. Like obviously it cut 5 years, and then we could see Tony's got a kid now, which was a huge thing. I think that brought more of the feels. Like I know we've seen him since Iron Man 1, and he started the whole franchise, but I think seeing him, as soon as I saw him with like his little daughter, I was like, shit, you know. It kind of made me think like something's gonna happen, you know.
That's good writing too. Like that's essential writing, because if Tony was just to get approached by Captain America and Ant-Man as he does, and like, we have to go back and we have to do this, and he goes, nah, I'm not going to do that. You'd be like, why not? Why are you not going to do it? But the kid makes it all change.
And we jump all over the place, but I remember him saying to Captain America later on, when they agree to kind of do their thing, he's just like, it's essential that we don't distort, our time right now. You know, we can fix the past, but we need to keep the present, kind of thing. And he's obviously talking about his daughter and stuff, but just the way he says it with all the passion, he's just like, my daughter is everything. There's no way we can erase what happened to her, you know.
I'm going to jump right now, because we're jumping everywhere. But it's Tony again. That Tony scene after he gets back from space, and he's like a raggedy skeleton man, and he's getting angry at everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, that scene was just glorious.
Some people are saying that, they would nominate him for an Oscar. It's like, that's the kind of thing where I'm saying that only exists for fans. That is Infinity War. That is Age of Ultron. That's Avengers. That's Iron Man 3, 2, 1. All the way back. That is a man who has spent 10 years, and then it all just fell apart. And he's like, there's no speech. There's nothing. He's throwing everything in everybody's face. He's like, oh, we're going to lose together. And this. And he's physically falling apart. He's emotionally falling apart. And you're just like, oh, Downey Jr. was made for those moments, because like sometimes he's playing a cocky prick, but when he does that and like the jokes fall away and he's just this callous, bitter, guilt-ridden, angry piece of shit, and he just takes it out on everybody. Oh, I loved it. It made me cringe. I'm like, oh no, he's gone all hardcore. But it was like, that's what I wanted. No, I know.
That's what I always wanted, for him to just shed the bullshit and just be like, his failure crushes him, and he just lashes out at everybody. Oh, it was great.
And you just think like, how are they going to come back from this? Like they're just down and out, and then Tony, like the one guy, I mean, Captain America will bring everyone up, but Tony is like, he needs to be there with him, and he's just completely like, we can't defeat Thanos. We can't do it. He's given up. So
then when you go, like you said, and you jump ahead, he has the kid. That shows why he is back to being at least a nice guy.
Sure.
And then you jump ahead to where he's like, I can't lose the family. That all makes sense then.
Yeah, it's built very well, yeah.
And it's a very short time frame. It's like he's literally at the lowest. He's on the ground in bits, barely able to stand, physically destroyed, emotionally destroyed. The kid, the farmhouse, the cottage. Then they're saying we have to change everything. He's like, I'll do it, but don't take this away from me.
Yeah.
It works. It's that kind of thing that works because you've had 10 years of building it up.
And then you've got I love you 3000, like little lines like that from his daughter as well, and you're just like, this is all, just all builds really nicely.
There is one thing I'd say though, he's too cool of a dad.
Oh yeah,
he's making jokes, and he's making jokes to the kids. Like at some point, you just got to put the foot down, like go to bed. Shut up.
He's not.
He never comes across like he's going to be that kind of parent.
Exactly. I'll sell all your toys. Is that what you said? Like, go to sleep. I'll sell all your toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Just super cool. What was like some other like standout moments for you? Like actually, one thing that kind of stood out for me is like, am I gonna laugh during this film? And I knew it's a Marvel film you're going to, but I was just like, how? Because they're so. At least the first hour, I was like, I wasn't expecting to. But then obviously, the first like one that made me burst out laughing was when he looks at Raccoon and he goes, "I swear I thought you were a Build-A-Bear." That's like putting in those little scenes, and that was during like a dramatic scene there. Like that was when Tony was breaking down. But I'm so surprised how they can put those things in, and you feel for all these characters, and they're all down and out, but then you get those funny scenes. And the
first time I felt I was allowed to laugh was Ant-Man.
Oh, okay.
And he's just going like this. So we got to go into the quantum realm, and then we got to do this. And it's like, is anybody eating that sandwich? And that was the first time. That's the first time I was like, okay, I'm back into a Marvel movie now.
Sure.
I'm back into that.
I was the same. I was almost like the Build-A-Bear thing was funny, but I was just like, yeah, how are they going to make this? And then they introduce Fat Thor. Which I didn't see. I did not see coming at all.
They hid that really well.
Yeah.
Like that did not come up in anything. All the posters, it's hunky Thor from Infinity War with the axe and all that.
Yeah. And then he did a terrific job of just kind of being down and out as well. And I liked it when he was like talking about the story, how he cut Thanos' head off with Stormbreaker. It was me that did it, But he's like telling himself while he's having a beer, and he's just like, oh, I'm gutted kind of thing, He's just completely.
But we did get to see Korg again.
We did see, and we wanted to see Korg and Mick, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, Korg and Meek playing the PS4, whatever they're playing.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was funny. They were playing Fortnite, and then the guy was telling him like he's cheating again or something like that, and Thor just shouts at him.
I love that. Thor's giving him a bunch of beak, and he's like, "I'll come there and stick it up your butt," and he gives him back the thing. And I just love Korg. He's like, "Thanks, Thor."
Yeah, thanks very much, mate.
It's like it's his mum.
Yeah. How
about this? How about we go through what we didn't like? Because in general, anybody who's listening knows that we did like this movie. We walked out. We're happy. You've seen it twice now. Might see it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But in terms of the things that are wrong with it, there's a few things that didn't sit. I would say, off the top of my head, my usual rule of, is there anything in this? Do I wish it was shorter? No. I wish it was longer. There's some things that were a little bit rushed. A few things that didn't, you have to be really paying attention in every scene to kind of catch little things.
Yeah.
I think a few moments could have been extended a little bit more. Like 10 or 15 minutes could have been done.
Sure.
There's a couple of scenes that I would have rewritten. I think Captain Marvel's entire inclusion is just pointless. She's just in it because she's in it.
Yeah.
And the time travel thing is what everyone's going to talk about.
Of course.
I've got 2 points on that. First is the feels. If you like a movie, you're going to forgive it. And all the movies that they mention about time travel, your Bill and Ted's, your Back to the Futures, your Time Cops, none of them make any more sense than this one. They're good movies. You enjoy them. You ignore all the bullshit. That's the same thing with this for me. If anybody wants to sit down and have a proper conversation, then I switch back to my very rational dickhead brain and I go, time travel's not possible. There's no rules. They didn't break any time travel rules. It doesn't make sense in any movie. It doesn't exist. It's not like they've, if you're making a movie about airplanes or space travel, we know what that shit looks like. We've made that stuff. So if you're doing something that's not what we know, you'd be like, that's not what an airplane looks like. It doesn't have 5 wings. That's stupid. But when it comes to something like time travel, it's science fiction. They have their own rules. They can do whatever they want. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yep. 100%, man.
With the problem with time travel that we had, though, is it was disappointing in that was the only element in the movie. Like, we had this thing about the soul stones and there's people trapped in there, and I just would have liked a little, like, I think the movie was complicated enough at a point because you're jumping around.
Yes.
But it just needed something else on another layer to make it truly stand out. But at the same time, I'm like, you might have needed to add another 20 or 30 minutes for that to make sense.
I think so. And you've also got to look at the audience, and it's like comic book and it's casuals as well. So I think you mentioned it. You already had that layer of time travel, which does get confusing. So I think if they added the soul stone layer or something, it would have maybe been too much for that audience and for that kind of Hollywood film,
Yeah.
Just while we're talking about time travel, that was my biggest thing. Was I hate it when that's a thing in films and they use it. I did like that the way time travel works in this, and they specifically told us, is in when you go back and you alter that. If you alter anything back there, it starts a new stream off. And as soon as they said that, I was like, okay, they can't alter anything in the current one, by doing that. So I was like, okay, that actually fixes a lot of things. But then I go back to what you just said. It's a comic book movie, and it's supposed to be kind of bend the truth here and there. And we were in there to have fun and see this film. We're not going to nitpick time travel. And like you said, if people want to do that, then you start turning on that different brain, and you can nitpick it to death, So
this is where like the feels and the logic, like the logic of it doesn't work, and then you can be like, oh, I don't want a time travel movie. But the moment they showed they were jumping back to New York, 2012, the first Avengers movie, it just felt right. I was like, oh, that's the only way to do this. You're closing off 10 years of movies. You have to go back. You have to see the previous moments, the previous things that happened. It's why you have time travel. It's so you can show everybody, hey, remember, we've done 10 years of this. This is how far we've come.
I know. Yeah.
To me, emotionally, it made sense, and because it made sense emotionally, the logic of it, I was just like, I'm going to go with this. This is cool. And then you see like they're fighting Loki again. They show the exact same scene, but from a different angle, and then they add a little bit at the end, like Hulk. I don't like stairs, and he's like, stairs.
Yeah,
like that's funny moment that we didn't see in the original movie, but is now part of that universe. That's the feels override the logic.
Yeah, exactly. That's it right there. Feels override the logic for sure. And just one thing with those films, do you reckon they use some of the like B footage, or did they refilm them all? Like, I know they had to refilm a lot of that, but like for that Avenger one, I was wondering whether that was...
I think they had to refilm it because it was different angles.
It was different angles. I just thought it might have been like a B-roll or something, but it would be weird to film it from that angle. So yeah.
Got to give a shout out to Marvel though. They got back, I think, just about everybody except Jane Foster. Natalie Portman. Like, everybody comes back for 5 seconds.
Even
Michelle
Hydra.
Pfeiffer is back just to stand at the funeral. Even Hydra's back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I mean about the time travel thing of like, that's what you're kind of, you need that.
Yeah.
Like, Samuel L. Jackson's in the film for 4 seconds at the end, but that's all you need.
Yeah. I know,
like, yeah, there he is. Good old Nick Fury at the funeral. Magic.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see. I didn't need him to have a line. I didn't need him to shoot anybody. I just need to see him.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like
It's very hard to get into the negatives of this movie because we always just turn around to how good it is.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Is like the biggest one for me was the time travel and just like how it annoys me when they put it in there. But like I said, I thought they did it in a really good way. And going back to like that first Avengers film, some people wouldn't have seen that maybe since that film. So it really brings back those feels. Like I watched them quite regularly, but seeing that iconic scene, we're all kind of together on that road with the Hulk. Just seeing that kind of scene, going like, oh yeah, that was 6 years ago or whatever. So I did, and then jumping through, and then like Tony, when they go back to 1970s, and he sees his dad, and it just changes all the vibes there. It goes back to kind of Winter Soldier type vibes, or the original Winter Soldier, the original Captain America. But yeah, super super cool. Like, as in, for someone that doesn't like the time travel aspect, like I loved it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The feels override the logic. And here's a question for you. And obviously I was talking about negative things, but don't let that affect your answer. The whole Hulk thing, were you happy with how the Hulk was used in this movie?
In a way, yes. In a way, no. The guilty part of me wanted him just to be Hulk smash, but I understand that kind of Hulk could get quite boring. So I did like that they changed his character up. So they kind of changed up a few people. Thor was changed up because fat Thor, but also he's got anxiety, and he was a bit different in this, in a good way.
That Thor at that point is just, he's depressed. Like, he's got nothing to live for. He's got nothing else in his life.
And Hemsworth did a great job with like the acting on that as well. But then Hulk, yes, I was surprised where they went with it, but now I think about it, now I've had time for it to sit. I'm like, I did quite like it, because
I did call it. I think I did call it that they were going to maybe do Banner Brain Hulk body.
Interesting.
So I'm kind of happy that happened.
I think we would have been fed up with just another Hulk smash guy kind of thing.
Right.
So I do like, and they were kind of teasing to, in Ragnarok that he could talk. So that was like the mid level, and then this is the next level. It's best of both worlds kind of thing. So still surprising, but again, like, it's funny how they're gathering the team and they get the Hulk in the pancake house, and they're getting the selfie, and again the laughter's coming, but at the same time the Soul Stones are gone and everyone's fucking dead, but we're still laughing. It's just, I'm amazed by how it's serious the film is, but then you're laughing and enjoying it at the same time. They just did a great job of that.
I guess my problem with the Hulk is, like I said, I loved it. He was funny. Ruffalo's always great. I rewatched the trailers, by the way, after this to see what was and wasn't in there.
Oh,
There's a couple of things.
Yeah.
He's Ruffalo in the trailers. There's no looks of the Hulk. There's no looks of transformation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When he's giving his talks, he's like, Thanos did this and this. He's Ruffalo, and that's it. You don't see any other version or anything.
Right.
I love the way he played it, the scenes where he's funny, he's goofy Banner, but in the Hulk body makes it work. And there's that great moment when they're back in New York and he has to like, Hulk, you better just act like you're gonna smash stuff, and he's doing that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was great. The thing that bugs me, I guess, is just like you get to that final battle, and he's not there. He's not integral to it.
Yes, I do agree. Like, he's not him. Well, his Hulk self, I guess. He's not.
No, like you have Widow's dead, obviously. You have the original three: Thor, Iron Man, and Cap go against Thanos, and Hulk's not there, and Hawkeye's not there, and it's like it's not really the Avengers without those two. But I guess it's like that core, trinity of people.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because now that you mention it, I'm like, yeah, you are right. He's kind of part of that group, but I didn't notice it though. Like, I did notice he was there because I know Ant-Man had him in his hands, but he wasn't there as like Raging Hulk, was he?
Right. But here's why I'll say it does bug me. I like that Banner kind of mastered the Hulk. Like, he did the science, and he's like, I have the Hulk's body, and now I can do it. And then it's like he's been doing this is the whole reason he exists, is to click his fingers because he can absorb the gamma radiation. That also has a nice setup because it shows that thing nearly kills the Hulk. So when it does kill our Mr. Stark, Stony Tark, that's what happens. Like, a human can't deal with it, the Hulk could barely deal with it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that way he kind of faded out of the movie, because the whole thing is that Black Widow dies, and he did have a thing for Natasha, and they were close. And I know 5 years had passed and everybody's miserable and shit, but he doesn't get to have anything around that. There's no emotional finish for him for that. And then the second point where that happens is with Vision, who doesn't come back in this. And I'll spoil something for people who might not know this. Marvel already released it. Disney Marvel's streaming service is going to have a Wanda Vision TV series. I think it might be a mini series.
Okay.
But that makes sense, because once she's back, she has the sort of Infinity Stone powers that she could, revive his dead body.
Right.
So that makes sense to me that he couldn't come back until she's back. But it just seems like there's a kind of things where people don't really get that that finish. And I would have liked Hulk to have a finish because everybody else got one.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's a very good point, because did we even see him after Ant-Man put his hands down, brought them down for the final battle? Did we even see him in there? I don't even...
You don't see him do anything notable.
No.
In the background, he's smashing, and then he's at the funeral in his cast and stuff.
Yeah.
But, the other three guys... And that's the thing, there's only so much time. And the fact is that they ran a whole story for Tony, and they ran a whole story for Cap in this movie.
Yeah.
Both of them got a story. You can't ask for much more. And Thor got one as well, a smaller one, but he has a start, middle, and end. He meets his mother. He does all that. So the fact that they got three characters to have a start, middle, and end in this movie is pretty damn impressive.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, it is nitpicking to be I want to see more Hulk do stuff.
Of course, but it's a criticism, man, and it's always taken on. But yeah, because going back to when they first did the time travel and seeing them iconically in that circle, it's seeing Hulk rage out and he's green is a big Avengers moment. So yeah, not seeing him at the end, when Captain America says Avengers assemble, you kind of want to pan sideways and see Hulk rage out. That's just iconic. But he wasn't even.
Probably.
He never. Yeah. The next time you basically saw him from then was at the funeral.
Probably the most goosebumpy moment in the whole movie.
That was as usual, we're jumping all over the place. But yeah, I think with him in the hammer, when he picked it up, and then Thor was like, "I know it," But then leading on to that fucking Avengers assemble, incredible. Seeing them all come out at the end there as well. I'd even say that it was so epic that I do feel like it put down the Game of Thrones. I know that these things aren't linked, but I just have to say how epic it was. And then we watched that Game of Thrones kind of battle scene, which was awesome, and I know it's different, but seeing two epic things in one weekend, this one just blew it out of the water. Sorry.
I will say though, for the final battle, as a negative, because we're supposed to be doing negatives.
Sure.
After the Avengers assemble moment, it kind of turns into a muddy mess.
Right.
I have no idea what the hell was happening.
Just a free-for-all, yeah?
It was just a free-for-all mayhem. And I'm sure when I watch it again, at home on my TV, and it's I can see it, I'll be like, oh, there's that guy doing this and this guy doing that. But
it kind of was, and I think that's almost what they wanted. It was just getting paint and just splashing it all over the place. That's basically what it was. Because you get to see, but it was so awesome to see all those characters come out the portals, and you're just like, this is 21 films right here.
Yeah, and it's even got what's his name, Howard the Duck is in there.
Is he? I never saw him.
Yeah. I checked it. I found it on a video. It's you could see him in the background shooting somebody.
Oh, man. Mick's in it as well. Mick.
Yeah, Mick and Korg.
Yeah, I saw him in there. Yeah. So it's just so awesome. Like you said, goosebump. Did your cinema kind of cheer for that moment? My one was all cheering.
Yeah.
So.
The moment that got me though was that's a great moment. I just love how Evans delivers it as well. He doesn't shout.
Yeah.
Just gives it a little assemble.
Yeah.
The moment, obviously, for me is when Cap picks up the hammer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's just glorious, because that comes off the back of Joss Whedon made a joke when somebody asked him a question. And I think, yeah, because in the Age of Ultron, everyone's trying to lift the hammer, and Cap gives the little,
That's right. Yeah.
and Thor's like, I was never worried. And everyone's like, why couldn't Cap lift the hammer? Why could he lift it a little bit but couldn't lift it all the way? Why is he not noble enough, or whatever, worthy enough? And Joss Whedon made the joke. He was the writer and director, and he makes jokes like, how do you know he didn't lift the hammer? Maybe he didn't want to. And it was a joke, but you're kind of like, oh, right, because he knows that if he lifts that hammer, it's going to cause a bunch of shit with Thor and Asgard, and maybe he doesn't want it. So that was one moment that makes me think of, like, not to go back to our Game of Thrones, which is the other review would come out today. The people who made this movie, you've got Kevin Feige, who has done all of the movies, overseen all of them. And the Russo brothers have obviously been there since Winter Soldier, but they've gone back and they've watched all the films. They know what's happened in the last 22 years. They can pull this joke out, and they can pull this line out, and they can pull this moment out, and they can rework it and be like, this is how we're going to finish the story. And I would be hard pressed to argue that they planned this with Joss Whedon way back in Age of Ultron.
Yes, yeah.
But the fact that they went back, saw it, and said, this is going to be the moment we do this.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like the guys who've gone back and they know what they're working with and they've done it. And it's great. It's a great moment. I will say there's a theory out there that Captain America couldn't lift the hammer until after Civil War, because he was weighed down by the guilt of not telling Tony his parents had died.
Ah, interesting.
Because that was the thing. He kept it so that Bucky would be safe. And then Tony's all like, did you know? And he's like, yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
Once he admits that, then he's worthy and then he can lift it. But I think, that doesn't make sense when you think about it in terms of he's not going to try and lift the hammer if he knows he can't lift it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's a hell of a risk to take, that he's like, I really hope I can lift this hammer today.
And there's also not really the opportunities too often to just lift Thor's hammer,
No, so I think it was more, he knew he could lift it, he didn't lift it, and then when he saw the hammer came back, he's like, this is my chance.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he just whoops ass with it.
It's
so good.
And such a good scene on both ends as well. Like, obviously he kicks ass, but I love the way Thanos was just a mental, like, throws him off and then just gets his sword, smashes, and then, like, smashes the shield in. But just, like, so chaotic as well. When I saw that, I was just like, yeah, this guy is fucking badass. And all three of them, one thing I wanted to mention was before, when Thanos was just sitting there and they were like, what's he doing? And he's like, he's been doing nothing, And when they walk down, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great. Thor's like, let's kill him for proper now. But in their faces, all three of them, great actors, but it's all come to this moment, and and you can see it and you can feel it. They're like, we need to fucking kill him. Like, it's not just like your comic book movie, oh, this guy's the villain. They're all three of them are like, we need to fucking kill him. Otherwise, it's just done. And then the audience know what's going on, So
I will say,
so good.
Before we get back to the negatives, on that point of fighting Thanos, when we did our Infinity War commentary, everybody go check it out if you want to have a good laugh, because we had a good time with that movie. Somebody left a comment there. Sorry, I can't remember your name off the top of my head, which made a very good point. We were talking over it, like, I wonder if he's stronger than the Hulk. He is stronger than the Hulk.
Yeah.
That's how powerful Thanos is. When he beats up the Hulk, he doesn't close his fists and the gemstones aren't glowing.
That's right, yeah.
So he's just doing it on a pure strength and skill. So that's why at the end, like, they're fighting the Hulk. They're fighting a guy who's better than the Hulk.
Yeah, totally. And actually, going back to your Hulk little moments there, I would have liked to have seen like a little standoff of a Hulk Thanos fight, actually.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I wanted to see. Like, and I know it's kind of like Banner's moved past it, but the Hulk doesn't get a moment. He doesn't get it,
Yeah, you are right. He's gone in a different direction, hasn't he? So
yeah, in the whole movie, the Hulk doesn't have a moment. He's the guy who snaps his fingers and brings everybody back, but is that a moment? Like
Yeah.
clicking your fingers?
Yeah, cool, but not what the audience was looking for.
Yeah, because it's literally his. I think it's the line he says right before he puts on the glove is, "Well, there's a lot of gamma radiation coming off this, so I'm probably the only one who can survive."
Yeah.
Like that's the first time we've ever heard of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and they just bring that out to make him the guy who has to do it, and it's like, oh, that was a little bit stuck in there. That wasn't quite. That didn't flow very smoothly there, guys.
They kind of alluded to him being like that with, when they went back to the original Avengers and they see him smashing and, funny, like you said, funny scene where he's like, trying to pretend to do it. But he's just like, I don't want to become that, or I don't want to do that. That's silly, So that's kind of like them showing that he's transitioning over,
Yeah. I would say that I guess the moment the Hulk has is when he gets knocked out of his body and Banner's astral form has to convince the Ancient One to give up the stone.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's his development. He's gotten to the point now where he tried to attack her and just take it, and she just like gives him one of those kung fu smacks to the chest.
Yeah.
So strength doesn't work and he has to use his brain.
Yeah.
That kind of does work. I don't mind. Like, I can see that. Like, but you've got this character who, like you said, in Avengers, the first one is this raging monster. In Infinity War, he gets his ass handed to him. In terms of dealing with Thanos, he doesn't have a final little kick where you're just like, yeah. And if we don't see Mark Ruffalo again as the Hulk, it'll be kind of sad that like he didn't have this final picking up the hammer or clicking the.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. Yeah, it's like I said, he's gone in a different direction, but we were kind of missing that, and he's been in it from both the other Avenger films, including in Infinity Wars as well.
Yeah. Next thing that's negative for me is Captain Marvel, which is annoying to say because I don't like people jumping on the bandwagon. I don't give a shit about, women this or feminism that, and they're putting women in and they've got to... I always just try and judge things as they are.
Sure.
I didn't like the Captain Marvel movie, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It's just a movie. But Captain Marvel in this, it's not Brie Larson. It's not because it's a woman. It's not because of anything. It's just pointless.
So,
and it had no effect on it. It's like, if you have, like, for somebody who has watched all the movies, it still kind of comes out of nowhere that she saves Tony.
Right.
At the start, and then she comes in at the end and she just does nothing, and then she's out of it.
Yeah. We were wondering how they were going to deal with her because of her powers and how good she was. So they basically just banished her and just said, well, not banished her, but she just went away, which is what she did in Captain Marvel as well. Like that's why she wasn't in any of the other Avenger films. Was there a reason for her turning up where Tony Stark is, or is that just, at the beginning of the film, or is that just fluke incident, or I guess?
Well, this is, if you've watched all the other ones, I think it's the end of, it's the end of her movie. There's the beeper. Yeah, at the end of her movie, there's that little, the beeper that Fury clicks at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah.
Captain America and Scarlet Witch or Black Widow are standing around and are like, what the hell is this thing? Well, it mattered to Fury, who knows? And then she turns up and she goes, where's Fury? And then it cuts to black. So to me, that seemed like it was one of those Winter Soldier moments where that's going to be a scene in this movie, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the logic is that happens before this movie, or like we don't see that scene in this movie, and they say, this is what happened. Thanos killed half the people. We're missing somebody. Can you go check if there's such and such up in space?
Of course. That makes sense. But
it does make sense until you get to the next point, Al.
Yeah.
No, here's the next thing. Why the fuck would she go looking for Tony Stark? Because they have no idea if he's alive or not. They have no reason to understand that the Click didn't take him out as well.
Of course, yeah. But they have they have to try, I guess, or
So there's no logic to why he gets rescued by her, except she's the only one who can carry a spaceship.
Yeah.
The way I see it is that the Russo brothers got told by Disney, like, here's our Captain Marvel movie. It's pretty good. It's made $1 billion. Can you make sure she's got a little scenes in this as well? Because she's going to be in future Avengers movies.
Yeah, I do.
And I think they watch the Captain Marvel movie and they're like, you know what? This character is not very interesting. They haven't done a good job. Let's get her out of the picture as quickly as possible.
It came across that way as well. And like I said, we were wondering how they were going to pull her off. And it's basically get rid of her and then she'll come back at the end. And the funny thing is, I actually forgot about her. And at the end, when the ships were aiming up and they were shooting, I was like, what the heck are they shooting at? And then it didn't hit me until I actually saw her. I was like, oh yeah, she's still she's in this movie.
Yeah, it's because of the Captain Marvel movie. I thought about it more after I watched it. I was like, it's not well put together. Like we talked about it, we did a review. It's not great. The character's pretty badly written in all things. And it's not like I'm shitting on Brie Larson. I don't give a shit what she does in her interviews or her press things or what anybody else wants to go on. The character in that movie is not well written. So if you give it to a couple of directors like the Russo brothers who are really good with characters, they're not going to use her.
Yeah.
Whereas if you turn around and you go to them, you go, okay, here's the characters you have for this movie. You got Drax, Gamora, Quill, Rocket, and they're going to be like, beauty. We're going to stick them with Thor. There's going to be jokes. We're going to have Drax eating chocolate things. And that's what happened in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I think there's like, yeah, we don't like her and we don't know how to use her.
Yeah. We'll just banish her, bring her back at the end.
Yeah. So like when she comes at the start and she comes at the end, it's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that downer. I've got one on my list that I forgot about, and it's to do with the Black Widow death, and it's to do with that they're going to the Soul Stone, going to the store, to get it. No one kind of mentioned to him that they.
Yeah, Nebula never said anything. You're right.
She's a bit of a fuck up in this film as well. Like, is in just her character not. Well, actually, nah, I can't say she's a fuck up because it was her other character from the other timeline or whatever. But yeah, going back to Black Widow, yeah, no one really mentioned that you might have to sacrifice one of you guys. And then when they were up there, and then they kind of just quickly decided, like it was like a bit of a joke thing, and they were like, "Oh, we got to do this." I just felt like that was a bit too quick. And then I think it was, what was it? They were running off, and then they were just shooting at each other as they were running off, and then hit the other guy and then shoot at him, and then use the stick here and stuff. I don't know. It was a little bit drawn out, but
yeah.
And I was actually expecting Hawkeye to be the one to go. I would have preferred Hawkeye to die than Black Widow.
It made more sense for Hawkeye to die because of him making the sacrifice. Like Black Widow, they tried to make it seem like she was very guilt-ridden and sad and everything, but she doesn't lose anything. She has nothing to lose in this world.
Yeah. And I think
whereas Hawkeye knows that if this works, his family will come back.
Yes, yeah.
But he'll never see them again.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, maybe because he has a family and stuff, they went a bit Hollywood on it. And they were just like, oh, she doesn't have one. I don't know. But I just felt like, first of all, them going up to that Soul Stone place, they were just like, do you know what you're doing up here? And then the second thing is just the way they were running towards the cliff and then like stopping each other was like a little bit cheese balls. But we are watching a comic book movie after all. But that was a bit of a downsider to me. But everything that happened after that, like, the effects of her dying were awesome and portrayed really nicely.
Yeah, like, and it's got a factor to it where I guess the other part of that makes it kind of weird is that as an audience, we know what the Soul Stone requires.
Yeah.
And to kind of keep that from the characters in the movie, it works sometimes, but in this case, I think, like, if it was me, I would have had Nebula tell them.
Yes.
Or tell one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would have been good, actually. Yeah.
Like, you tell... it doesn't really matter which one you tell, because it would have just had this great tension to it.
Exactly, yeah. They would have been...
As they're getting closer and closer, and if one or both of them know, it makes the whole trip a lot more different.
The other...
And you could have... it just, yeah, like it's one of those things of it's a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah. The other scene I remember, that's where I was going off my Nebula rant, is where she turns around to War Machine and says, my father and myself and my sister are here. I'm like, you could have fucking told people this earlier on, because when they were divvying up the teams, they could have maybe put people in different locations. You know what I mean? I just felt like that. I felt that was a bit odd as well. She was just like, but then it's kind of her character, and she's emotionless, and maybe she just didn't, she's not thinking about it as an Avenger kind of thing. So, but
she does get a good arc though as well. I have to give her that.
She does,
when
yeah.
She shoots herself and
shoots herself. But yeah, I'd say there's probably a couple of other downsides to it, but obviously overall, fucking positive.
Yeah, the time travel thing, it comes down to me in the logic of it. There's two explanations. There's one explanation that I am not smart enough to explain to you or anybody else.
Time travel just absolutely boggles my mind, which is why I don't like to talk about it too much.
It's a concept one, and I can visualize it in my own head. Maybe I'll try and make a video or something, but it doesn't really need to be done. But it's a theory one, and it's from me and other people, and obviously much smarter people. The other theory that makes the most sense and is easiest to explain is, like you said earlier, they're not going through time, they're going through dimensions. They're jumping to different realities.
Yes.
So when they go back to 1970s and Tony Stark meets his dad and he steals the cube, that's a different reality.
That's a different reality. That's right.
Yeah. He's created a new reality. When he goes forward, that's not what he's not going to go into a future that's changed. There's no butterfly effect.
Well, that's technically what happens at the end with Captain America. So this is actually cleared up and official, because a few people were kind of annoyed and didn't know what was going on with Captain America. He was old. Where did he go? What did he change? What did he do? So this is official from the Russo brothers. And they basically said he went back, returned the stones and everything, and then had a life with the lady, I can't remember her name, Carter. Now, as soon as he had his life with her, that was a whole new stream. So a whole new timeline started there. He had his life with her. I'm guessing he ages slower or whatever. She probably passed away. And then he jumped back to the regular Avengers timeline that we were watching. And that's where he returns the shield. And then that's where he's sitting there. So I know some people were wondering, like, well, is he... How is he still there in that world, and what did he do when he went back, and blah blah blah. But that's how they saw it, and that's how they told it. So basically,
he's jumping from dimension to dimension.
Yeah, and that's how they explain the time travel, and that's why I really liked that they explained it that way. But you're always going to find bloody holes in it, aren't you? Because the fact that they went back. The other thing I read was, Loki took like the Tesseract and then like disappeared.
He disappears.
Apparently, that is maybe going to be his, because he's got a mini series on.
He's
Disney.
Got a mini series as well.
So apparently, maybe his mini series might be like when he disappeared when he disappeared with it. That might be his mini series. Is like where he went.
That would make sense. I remember when we were thinking they made the release of the mini series. We're like, shit, is he going to come back in this movie?
Yeah,
and he doesn't. The thing with him stealing the Tesseract that I also understood is when the Ancient Ones explaining the stones, they keep the timeline together. So you can jump back and you can create new dimensions, new timelines, whatever it is. That's fine. You can change it as much as you want because the timeline, whatever timeline you're in, will always be kept solid by the stones. It's the fact that Bruce wanted to take the stone out of the timeline.
Yeah.
You can't do that because then that splits the dimension you're in,
right,
into different pieces. So chronologically, you can do whatever you want as long as the stones go back to where they have to be.
Interesting.
So the fact that Loki uses the stone to disappear, that doesn't change. It doesn't endanger the timeline because it was always in that time period. It's just in a different place in the time period.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where in space it is. It can be on Morag, it can be on Earth. It doesn't matter as long as it's in that reality.
I love that way. We're talking about time travel, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds correct.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds correct.
So I think what we'll have is, we'll have a reality. The reality we're in is 2012. Loki got away at the end of that instead of going to Asgard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other one was, just going back to Black Widow, is she's supposed to have her own miniseries, but I'm guessing it's going to be a origin prequel origin thing. So,
which kind of sucks for her, but
yeah, I thought so as well.
Yeah. The other thing with the stones, though, that somebody explained it better than I did when I was reading one of the theories. It was on that time travel one that I also can't explain.
Okay.
But it's basically, everyone's like, oh, now we have time travel in the Marvel universe. It's going to ruin everything. They'll just go back and fix things. As far as they explained it was that because Thanos destroys the stones, this is it. You can't jump back in time anymore.
Right.
And I couldn't, the way it works doesn't really make sense, but it's basically, the Ancient One says the stones keep everything together. But if you start jumping back after the stones are destroyed, you're going to screw things up properly.
Right.
You will actually mess up the timeline because there's no stones to keep it together.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, how that works, I don't know, because the stones got destroyed and then 5 years pass and then they jump back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, somebody kind of explained like that. It's like after Steve doesn't return, he breaks the loop. And from then on, nobody else is going to be able to jump back in time.
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, that was it. Sorry, that was the explanation. The way it works is that Tony created the GPS machine. You know, he did it in his basement in like 20 minutes. Real easy job for him. That works out where you have to go in the quantum realm to come back out.
Right.
So it's working on like the probability of doing this and the probability of that.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it works on the principle that you go back and you have to come back to the exact moment you left. Otherwise, you screw everything up. Steve left, but he didn't come back. So he's destroyed the ability for the timeline to ever be altered again.
Okay. Yeah. I can see it.
Because that's the principle. You have to come back to where you left.
Fucking Steve. Saving the day again.
Steve. Saving the day again. Yeah. So that's the theory of why in the future Marvel movies there won't be a time travel element.
Yeah,
that's again, that's just one theory. We're not writing the movies. It's there. If somebody in the future is like, you know what, we should use that time travel thing again. It'd be really cool if we went back to the 1600s or something. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, the one thing I was mentioning was like I saw it for a second time with my wife, and obviously it's very sad when Stark dies and stuff. And then I was saying to her, because I didn't know how the time thing worked, so I was saying to her, if they really wanted, they could go to another dimension and then they could have Tony Stark there, or bring him forward or something. I was like, if they ever wanted to show him in another movie just for a cameo or something, they could do that. But if the timeline works the way you just said, they can't do that. So, and also I don't think they'll bring him back anyway. I think it's properly over. One thing I do think they'll do is I think Pepper Potts, I think she'll be in, maybe even the new Spider-Man, just as like a little part or something. Just because she knew that Tony was like very fond of him and stuff, and then obviously she was wearing the suit at the end, so maybe she might play some kind of role in a film, maybe a Doctor Strange or something, but more likely to be Spider-Man. I think
it'll be interesting to see what
cool.
the Spider-Man movie does, because the official release is that the Spider-Man Far From Home is the last movie of Phase 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
there's
right.
Obviously going to be something in that's going to be related to the Click and the whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the final negative thing I'm going to say, though, is that not Spider-Man specifically, but at the end when we have her return, it's like there's a lot of open questions now that have to be kind of sorted, and I hope Marvel have got a plan to kind of move forward with it.
I think so. I think they're quite good at that, and I do think they'll tell that. And in the future films, you're talking about Black Panther 2 and all of that lot.
Well, it's Marvel, so it's not going to be the kind of depressing shit that I might like to see, but I would really like some sort of like, think about it like this. There was the click, 5 years passed, everyone comes back. So Peter Parker disappeared, Ned, his best friend, disappeared. They both come back the same age they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But everyone around him is 5 years older. And that's true for half the world.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, for example, you know, I click out of existence. You know, my family are like sad, they'd miss me, whatever, they move on. Then I come back and then they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's like the best case scenario. You've got much darker things that can happen than that. You've got, you know, husbands and wives getting remarried to somebody else. You've got people like, you know, their children disappear, so they're like, well, I've got nothing left to live for, and they kill themselves.
Yeah.
Their children come back, the parents are dead.
Yeah. Just the chaos in the aftermath, which is what we were seeing at the beginning of the film, but like, how does it look, you know, at the end? Unfortunately, they weren't really showing it because Spider-Man was walking into the school again. But like you said, everyone in that school, all their friends are going to be 5 years older than him.
Yeah, they're all going to college, or even just things like, yeah, it's that kind of stuff is like an easy kind of fix you get around. You say, okay, everybody in his class disappeared.
Yeah,
it's very improbable, but it's comics.
Yeah,
it's those other kind of stories that I'm wondering, like, will they relate to it in future? It's like, for 5 years, half the world had to get by on its own.
I think they
everyone
will.
comes back.
I think they will. I think you know, they've shown that they can do the little details, and they kind of in all the 21 films, they've connected those all well. They just need to keep connecting the dots, I guess.
Yeah, like to jump back to a really good moment, Ant-Man's return, and he goes to his house, and his daughter opens the door. And she looks a little older than 5 years, but you know, she's older.
Yeah,
and like, fair dues to Paul Rudd, he played that scene great.
Yeah.
There's no talking, he's just hugging her, and his face and his like, what has happened, and time, and he's in tears and all. Like, that's a great moment. And then later on, he's making jokes, and he's really good. Of course, they kind of brush him off at one point, but I just liked that thing. And they have the what's it, the memorial, the wall that he goes to, and he's looking for her name and stuff.
The Vanished or something.
Yeah, the Vanished, and like, they're all going to come back now, and there's a lot of really cool stories you could play with that, a lot of great depths of emotion, but I don't know if Marvel are going to go down that route.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's just gonna be like, we're on a spaceship, we're in space, we're not dealing with Earth anymore.
Yeah,
screw it.
Yeah,
it's Fat Thor and Quill.
Yeah, that's an exciting one as well, because it's funny. I was actually watching Graham Norton, and he was interviewing Chris Hemsworth, saying that, like, oh, your contract with Tony Stark and Captain America are all up. Like, is that you trying to tell us something there? And he actually was just like, well, you never know of contracts and you know what could happen and stuff like that. So he kind of alluded to that, like, he's going to continue on. So I can totally see him in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Maybe not as a main guy, but I can totally see him in it for like 10 minutes at least.
Yeah, I could definitely see him getting on board with that kind of movie in future.
Yeah.
Because he loves Ragnarok, he loves that kind of thing. So
yeah,
Guardians would be more the same.
And they've changed the Thor character. Like he said, I'm not a king. I want to be who I want to be, kind of thing. So, or he's trying to find himself, kind of thing. So,
took him 1,000 years to get there. So
he's been through some shit, man. Actually, the scenes with his mum were quite good. Actually, I quite like that. You really felt.
Yeah. So let's get onto that. We've taken a few kicks in there. Generally speaking, though, there's not a lot to complain about in this movie.
Like you said, it's all the feels, it's all the feel good moments, ticks all the right boxes. Just like when you walk out the cinema and you're just like, yeah, I'm happy with that. You know, it's like you're not left empty, or you're just happy that you're going in your mind. You're going through all the scenes, going, oh yeah, remember this, remember that. You know, and it was 3 hours. It was 3 hours, and it was just packed full of like awesomeness, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a lot to digest, like to take in, and I feel like that movie is the image I have of that movie in my head is Hulk at the end holding up the rubble.
Oh yeah.
While Raccoon is like drowning in the water. To me, that's like the vision of what this movie is. Hulk is the filmmakers.
Yeah.
The rubble is 22 movies and 10 years of stories. And then the time travel thing is the thing that's almost going to drown everybody, and they're just barely keeping above the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it shouldn't work. It should not be this much fun and this funny and this, well paced and character development and moments of emotion. It shouldn't happen, but it does. And it's just like, thank fuck you guys pulled this off.
Yeah. I know, like that's the whole thing. Can you imagine if it just like it ended on like a sour note, as in like it just didn't hit all those key moments? You would be like,
I will say one more negative before we get into it fucking kissing its ass too much. Tony's death is a little bit quick, wasn't it?
I kind of like that, to be honest. Like,
yeah, did you like it?
I think they were just building up to. I think they couldn't have drawn it out any more. And I liked the fact that he was just quickly with the glove, and it was just like, I am Iron Man. Obviously, the line. One thing that was one of my favorite things was with that scene was when he went and grabbed those stones, and he got them off Thanos, and Thanos is like, shit, they're not in my glove. The thing that I loved about it was Iron Man. It was his tech. His brains got the stones.
Yes,
and that's what
I'll agree on that.
That's
that was
what I thought was
quality.
awesome, because when it boils down to it, he is Iron Man, and he's a genius, and he fooled Thanos, and you don't need to have the muscles. He had the brains, and all he needed to do was probably touch the glove, and then they all magnet onto his glove or something. He made some mechanism to do that, and that Tony Stark would do that.
Yeah, that's his story. Like that's the whole point of like he had that breakdown at the start.
Yeah,
putting the armor around the world, and every movie has a new armor. Every movie he's making the armor better. Every movie he's improving the tech, and it's all because of this.
Yeah.
It was all for this moment, and then when the moment came, and Strange gives him the finger, in a good way.
yeah.
He's like, "This is the one, Tony."
Yeah.
That's what it boiled down to, is that his tech that he kept working on and kept working on and kept working on saved the day.
Yeah.
His little nanotech bits came and they pulled it, and it's like Thanos clicks his fingers and it's just a dud. And you're like, there you go, Tony. When they say you can rest, you saved us. He really did, because he just was always worried and always thinking it's coming. I got to be better.
Yeah. And then there was also, again, because we like jumping around everywhere, so there was no post-credit scene, but do you know at the end, I didn't wait for it, but someone told me, the Marvel Studios logo is at the end, it comes up at the end, and while it does, you hear the hammering of metal, and people are saying...
Yeah, hammer on anvil, yeah.
People are saying it's him making his suit in Iron Man 1. It's the same sound of him in a cave.
It is, yeah. I would definitely say it is.
I thought that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, there's two theories in that. The first is that it's either just the final, like, we've built this, like from Iron Man 1 to here, we've built it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Iron Man. You created this universe. And then the other theory is obviously that either somebody else is building a suit to become the new Iron Man.
Right.
Or either because he used the stones, or he's created a hologram, or he put his brain into a different body, or he's traveled through time. Tony's still out there, and now he's making a new suit, and if they ever need to, they can get Robert Downey Jr. back.
Oh, right, yeah. I think it's just a simple thanks, Tony, and going all the way back. I am Iron Man, going back to that. But it is a comic book universe, and anything can happen.
But it is going to cost you a hell of a lot of money.
Hell
it's
of
like,
a lot.
Whatever, $80 million he gets now or something for these movies?
Yeah. Well, he's doing Sherlock Holmes 3 right now, which I'm pretty sure will bomb. I don't know. I didn't like number 2, but
no.
Yeah. And then the other like note I've got down here, and this is just as a positive, is Captain America's ass. I loved it
all in capitals.
Yeah. And then it's first of all, it's Ant-Man just loving on Captain America the whole time, and then even actually that was another funny moment when Thor was just talking gibberish. But then Ant-Man's like taking it in. But the rest of them are all like, just sit down, all right? Just sit down.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Take 5
Captain America's ass. And then when he fights himself, actually that was a great scene when he fights himself.
That came out of nowhere, but at the same time it was like, it's the only thing that you're waiting for.
Yeah. And it's like, got eyes on Loki, you know, and you're like, that all makes sense. And then kicking each other's ass is like, I can do this all day. It's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So good.
But the other great moment there is just when Cap is looking at it, he goes, ah, shit.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, he swears. This is the new dirty, old, angry Cap.
Yeah. God, yeah. So
I've gone back and forth on this because in my brain, there's the older Cap is post Avengers, post Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So he's got like 9 years more experience. He should just easily whoop younger Cap's ass.
So I was thinking that, but then you've also got, he's still also very good in the Avengers, like super talented, but also he finds that little thing of Carter, and I think that just sparked some like crazy adrenaline. So
Right.
I think like that's the way I saw it. It was like he saw Carter.
But there's also the other factor, like you said, like he's 9 years younger, so maybe he's just
There is that as well. Maybe the guy's a little bit, future one's a little tired.
yeah. But I will say that the way it wraps up is exactly in keeping with Captain America's like arc. He's
Okay.
no longer like the hardcore soldier doing things. He's just like Bucky's still alive.
Yeah.
He pulls that out, and then the elevator's just doing the old Hail Hydra.
That was so good.
And just like that's a guy who's evolved. Like he's smart enough now to know how to play the game.
Yeah, 100%.
So it works. Like it works in that's how he beats him. It's like, yep, you're an idiot. Punch him in the face.
Yeah.
That is America's ass.
yeah. So many good lines.
Yeah. So that's if we're gonna go from negatives to positives. What was your either best scene or just the best feels or like the whole thing? What did you love?
It's really, I mean, honestly, it's going to be most people's. It's really hard not to love that Captain America picking up the hammer and then Avengers Assemble with everyone coming out. Like, as soon as that happened, goosebumps. And we had a scene like that. I know we talked about it in Infinity Wars, and it was when they were running towards the army, and then you see Captain America. He's just like running faster than everyone else and jumps into battle. I think for me, that was my favorite scene and kind of goosebump moment in Infinity Wars. But in this one, this is the equivalent, but it's a similar setup of a scene, really. You know, they're all kind of lining up, just that epic war. But really, truly, everyone's coming together. But the fact that it's just this is a really small detail, but when he grabs the hammer for the last time, like when he says Avengers Assemble, and just that flick back, you know, like the hammer, and he flicks it back, and you can tell that he is like complete, he's whole, he's just like, this is it, like I could die right now, we're going in, you know.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, exactly. So I know I know that's going to be most people's probably favorite scene, but it really was for me. When I was watching the film, like I said, it ticked all the boxes. It had all the funny. It had all the sad. I wanted to see the Earth all depressed, and I wanted to see the empty stadium. Like I like actually Forsaken Worlds and stuff. So I'm glad I saw that. But the one thing I wanted to see was like an awesome battle scene, and it 100% delivered. So that, like, predictable, but that was my favorite scene. What about you?
Good call. Yeah, I think anything with Captain America in that movie was flawless. Like everything worked. Like even at the very start when he's the guy running the support group.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, being very positive, trying to be positive. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like that's a callback to when Falcon was doing it in Winter Soldier.
That's right. Yeah.
For the vets, you know, and it's like that's what Steve sees that he has to do now. I like that. Like that's a connection to Falcon, and then Falcon comes back and he's like, "You're a good man." You can see that he's got this, and he tries to make Tony have this moment. You know, he's trying to give Tony some support, and Tony's just like, "Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. You're a liar."
Yeah.
And then even his moments where he sees Tony's kid, and he's just like, "I'm happy for you, Tony. I really am." And like Chris Evans is like, as an actor, probably doesn't get enough credit for just how well he plays things.
Yeah.
Because when you have to do it with a guy who's generally like very heart on his sleeve, everything's out in the open, and he's not like he's the good, clean character. To have a lot of layers and depth is kind of hard.
Yeah.
And he does it really well. He's just like this and this. And then everything after that's great. Like he makes his jokes. He has his moments with Tony that he trusts him, beating the shit out of his younger self. and then finally at the end with against Thanos, and it's just like, yes, hammer, Avengers assemble, beat the shit out of this guy. And then for me, obviously, when he comes back as an old man and he's just like, here, you take the shield, passing the torch, and all of it just, it's completely in character. None of it felt out of character at all. It'd been earned after years and years of Winter Soldier and Civil War, and
Yeah.
then when you get to the very final moment and it's him dancing with Peggy, and you're just like, there we go. You did it. We go.
That's how like powerful and good at character / actor he is as well. That they end it all on him, don't they? And
yes,
and
that's the end of the movie.
And you're all very satisfied by it as well. It's not just like they end Avengers, like the movie, on a dance scene from 1970s or whatever. You know, it's like that's you know, and it was just perfect, and then it just cuts to the credits, doesn't it?
Well, I'm watching it and I'm crying.
Yeah.
And my missus turns to me and she's just like, "What are you crying for?" Because she didn't quite like, she wasn't invested. She's like, "What are you crying for?" And it's just, I just looked there and he goes, "He earned it." And then she started crying too because she realized that he did. So
yeah.
Yes, winning emotions.
Oh yeah, there's definitely. I was in a cinema and like some scenes, like even the main battle scene, Avengers Assemble and stuff like that. Like there was a couple of sniffs behind me, and one of them was from a guy as well. And then obviously the Tony Stark scene, my wife was crying, like wiping her eyes and stuff. So it was like.
I'll be honest, Tony dying didn't get me.
Oh yeah,
because I kind of seen it coming.
You kind of see it coming, yeah.
Until his hologram.
It was the funeral for me. It was I guess music always is a big cue, but also just going through, you know, all the characters and everyone that he affected, kind of thing. That kind of got me.
It was the floating arc reactor that got my missus.
That's hilarious.
Because she was kind of holding it together, and then it just says, "Proof Tony Stark has a heart," and she's like, "Oh." You could just hear she verbally went, "Ah."
Yeah.
For me, it was his hologram where he goes, "I love you 3000."
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
And I was like, you call back, you beautiful callback.
Yeah. That's that's a good one. What was the other thing? I did have to look up, so you can call me for not being a true Marvel fan. I did have to look up the kid at that funeral. I was like, who is that? Oh,
because it was the Iron Man 3 kid.
That's right. But I was
that's the thing, because I'd watched all them before. So
okay.
I was like, I recognize that kid.
I honestly have only seen Iron Man 3 once, and I haven't seen it since. So that's why I totally forgot about him. And then Fury at the end, like you said, he's only in it for 5 seconds, but that's all you need. And like, seeing him at the end just brings a little smile.
That's what we got to at the end of it all when you're talking about what the movie does. Like, this scene's funny, that scene's exciting, this scene's cool, but it's just like, you're crying, you're laughing, you're smiling, you're happy, you're satisfied. Everything else just kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if the time doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter if it's about a purple giant man who's trying to kill you with a double-edged sword. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. All that matters is, what do you feel when you leave the cinema?
Exactly. You've invested in these films, and you're in that kind of universe. And if you're going to let time travel, like, mess with it all and say, "Oh, it's the worst film I've seen," then like it's obviously not the film for you, but it's not the franchise for you or anything. You know, you can't let time travel ruin that. So.
If anybody has a problem with the time travel ruining it, what they can do is go out and get the time machine that they know how to build, because obviously they know how it works, and they can go back and make sure this film never happens. Why don't you go do that? But I don't want to defend the movie for, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, we don't do that here. We're kind of picking holes as we did.
Yeah.
But for me, that's the thing, is like, if I'm watching a movie and, you know, you step back and you look at it objectively, it's like, I'm a grown man. I'm sitting in the dark. There's a bunch of strangers around me. But because of the pictures and the sound that you've put up on that screen, you've made me cry.
Yeah.
You've done something right.
Exactly. And
that's what all is at the end of the day. Did the story affect you?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been 11 years, 2008, 11 years. They ended it, and I don't need to see another movie from Marvel for a while. I will, but like, there's nothing at the end of this where I'm like, I should have done that or should have done this. It's like, no, well done, well done.
Yeah, I think 100% satisfied. And yeah, congratulations and thanks for entertaining us for all these years. And I know you'll do more, but just congratulations on and I know it's doing very well in like its opening weekend. It's completely blew away like Star Wars and stuff like that, and well deserved.
Blew away everything. It's $1.2 billion
completely
in its
smashed.
opening weekend.
It did a Hulk smash on everyone.
It's the number one weekend ever. The number one. It was in the most cinemas. It made like 350 million domestic.
Yeah,
330 million in China. It just destroyed. And the fact is that it's coming off the back of a cliffhanger. But it's also, like we said way back at the start of this very long review, it's 3 hours long, and it doesn't make any fucking sense to anybody who hasn't seen a Marvel movie.
yeah,
but it's still, everybody went to see it. You've seen it twice. I'm going to see it twice. We're going to buy the 4K. We're going to do a commentary.
Yeah.
You did it. Well fucking done.
Yeah,
you did it.
That's the one thing. Like, we're going back to Game of Thrones here and dissing that, but they're kind of losing the ball on that on season 8. But these guys, I'm so glad they didn't drop the ball or like it just gradually went down. Like they maintained their momentum. They've connected the universe really well, and and it's paying off obviously with people going to go see it. But yeah, just well fucking done.
Yeah, it's we've talked about it. And it's kind of hard to see it from the perspective we're in, but there were no superhero franchises before this. You had the Batman movies, and that was about it. There was no, like, the Superman movies died off in the 90s. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies were good, but they were like, all of them just existed on their own. And then Marvel did what it did in the comics in the 60s, and it said, you know what? We're going to make a movie, and it's going to connect to a different movie.
Yeah.
With a different name. It's not going to be Iron Man 1's connected to Iron Man 2. It's Iron Man 1 is connected to Captain America 1. And everyone was like, you guys are idiots. This is never going to work. Nobody knows who the hell Iron Man is. Stop being stupid. Oh, now you're making a movie about a Norse god with some Australian kid. Never going to work.
Yeah.
And here we are, and it's now, whatever, 15, 16, 20 billion dollars. The biggest movie company in the world. The longest running story in the world, probably, in movie history.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be.
I was trying to think, like, yesterday about, like, there's been a lot of James Bond movies, but, Dr. No isn't connected to Casino Royale.
Of course, yeah.
And Harry Potter's 7 movies. Lord of the Rings was 3. Star Wars is 9, but
spread across
not all of them.
long as well.
Yeah, like this is 22 movies. Not all great. Not all fucking gold. But enough that you're like, okay, you've had Captain America's been in Captain America 1, 2, and 3, and Avengers 1, 2, 3, and 4. 7 movies with this one character.
Yeah. And they've also got all of these movies in within 10 or 11 years, isn't it? Whereas, like Star Wars, as epic as that is, that's spread across a long time. But so everyone going to go see this final film, they've all seen all the films within the last 10, 11 years. So it's all the same kind of group of people. Whereas, like, there are people going to go see Star Wars these days, which might not like or have seen the originals for a while or something. It's a different generation of people, if you know what I mean. So it's I just think like everyone going to go see this film is all on the same level, same kind of group. So it's well done for how quickly they've done it, in a way.
And the other thing with it is that it's not just because it's big and epic. In future, someone else is going to make a big epic movie. I don't think we're going to see this final duo of like a huge, risky cliffhanger, and then this movie, which is in itself got a lot of risks. They kill Thanos real quick, then they bring him back as a younger version. They kill Tony. They bring people back. it took 10 years to make this movie happen. I don't think we're going to see that ever again.
I know. I was wondering that as well. It will be a very long time until we see it again, or at least someone will try and copy it, DC and people like that. But I don't think.
Well, yeah, people are going to try and be like, "Oh, we're going to have a cliffhanger in this one," and we don't know. It's like Avengers did it.
Yeah,
it's the South Park things. Like Simpsons did it.
Of course, yeah, 100%. And I think this is so kind of they'll be the first original people to do it. But also, like, I don't think anyone will do this kind of level, maybe ever, or not for at least a decade.
Well, we're lucky because, like, you made the good point about Game of Thrones, and like any great series, any great show, is that part of the experience for anything that you like, whatever it's a video game or a book or a comic or whatever, is the waiting. It's the build up. It's the excitement. And watching Game of Thrones, seeing Jon Snow die, and then having to wait a year to find out what happened. That's a whole different experience in your life than the person who's just going to get season 4 and then turn over and play the next episode and watch the next episode. And Jon Snow's dead for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think it's funnily enough, it's a time discussion we're having right now, getting all serious. It's like, this is how we're spending our life. This is our one and only life. This is the time we spend. And part of that is that, you're going to be able to show these movies to your kids, but at least you can say, I was there. I had to wait a year for that.
Yeah.
You know? And with this movie, what I mean is, like, we're never going to be in this place again where we were having to wait 10 years, having to wait a year between the movies, but also this is the first time it ever happened and we were here for it.
Of course, yeah.
And the next time it happens, like you said, someone's going to try and copy it.
Yep.
Even Marvel are going to have another big event in 5 years from now when they fight Galactus or whatever.
Sure.
But we were here for the first one, so we're going to be like, oh yeah, that's like when they did Endgame.
Yeah, it'll be that memorable moment. And like you said, we were here for it. And people will always like kind of quote it or say, it'll just be a thing on the internet, but we lived it. We lived it.
Yeah, we've said this a few times. One of my favorite moments in cinema, in my entire life in the cinema, was the end of Infinity War. The second time, the first time as well, but when it ends.
Yeah,
everyone in the cinema is just stone cold silent.
Yeah.
It was magical. There's 500 people sitting there in silence in the IMAX theater being like, and then you just hear a couple of kids leaning over the brands going, is everybody dead? It's like, yeah, they're all dead, Timmy.
Yeah.
Try and go to sleep tonight.
So good.
So yeah, to get here, wait this long, have all this build up, and then be like, hey, you guys pulled it off. Way to go.
Yeah. Well done, Marvel. Congratulations.
Well done, Marvel. Not that you need us, because you're already incredibly rich. I can't wait to the commentary. I can't wait to do a commentary on it.
Oh, yeah. We'll do that like the week that it comes out. We'll get it on good old 4K. That'll be great.
Yeah.
I don't think...
We'll have to do another commentary soon on something that we can just give out about.
Oh, yeah.
Rant about.
Something like the League of Justice.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah, because that's the exact opposite of this movie.
That will be the exact opposite. That'll be a good ranting on. We haven't ranted for a while.
Yeah, although I'll probably cry as much for that one as I did in this one. Why did they make a stupid costume?
Good Lord. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging in there for 1 hour and like 24 minutes. This is almost as long as a commentary.
Yeah, but it's a big ass podcast, but it's a big ass.
You know
movie,
what? It's a big ass film, and it deserves a big ass review. We'll be back for many more, but yeah, like, we're comic book guys. A lot of this channel is comic book stuff, so we have to do it justice, And if you are at the end listening to this, thanks for hanging in there, and also let us know your thoughts.
Put your comments below. Let us know what you think is your favorite moment in it, or what moment did it drop the ball.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make the prediction that they're gonna probably use Galactus in the next big bad guy thing, because now they have the rights to Fantastic Four back, and X-Men are gonna be in there, so they could do that.
Okay.
I'm excited for that. And I think Marvel are going to stay quiet on what their next few movies are, but there's obviously going to be a Black Panther 2 and a Doctor Strange 2 and a Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah,
But
it'll be interesting.
maybe
to see
there'll be some new stuff coming out there. Yeah.
their miniseries as well. You never know; the quality of those might be quite high. So
Yeah.
um,
I wouldn't mind seeing the there's Falcon and Winter Soldier, and there's Vision and Wanda, and I'm like, yeah, if they're miniseries,
yeah,
I would definitely want to watch that. I don't want one of these Daredevil scenarios where it's 13 episodes and it's, whatever.
no, I agree as well. And I'm actually quite anxious to see a Loki one as well. I know Loki's got quite a big fan base. Like people were calling for him to have his own movie, but I think a miniseries is a nice start.
Yeah. So the it's going to be interesting now. Is that coming out this year?
Yes,
Their
it's coming
Disney
out in
stream?
November, $6.99.
All right, cool. So hopefully it'll be launching with that. That'll be sweet.
It'll be launching with a few, but I'm not sure which ones in particular. And then they're slowly going to roll out more original content, because I think there's a Boba Fett type one they're doing as well.
Yeah, the Mandalorian.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that was a burp. Excuse me. I think it's time for dinner. I think we got to wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up, boys and girls. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys, and don't forget to leave any comments and like the video and subscribe if you guys want to see more.
Or dislike the video. It's fine because we need balance in the universe. 50% up, 50% down.
So true. So true.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Cheers.
It was awesome.
Cheers, boys.
Whatever it takes.
Captain America's ass.